Welcome back to The Lost Tactician, where history meets endurance and, the forgotten stories of human resilience come to light. They said it was impossible, that resistance was, futile, but against all odds, a clandestine world of defiance thrived in occupied Poland during World War II. Prepare to be astounded by the ingenious tactics and unwavering courage of ordinary citizens who risked everything to subvert the Nazi regime, proving that even in the darkest hours, hope can ignite a revolution. Today, we descend into the shadows of occupied Europe to uncover how Poland forged the largest and most sophisticated resistance movement the continent had ever seen. A secret war fought in whispers, coded messages, and acts of extraordinary bravery that would reshape the course of history. September 1939 brought thunder to Poland's borders. German panzers rolled across fields still wet with morning dew, and Stukas screamed through skies that had known peace just hours before. Within weeks, Poland's conventional military forces were shattered, its government forced into exile in London. The world watched as another nation fell under the Nazi jackboot. But what the occupiers didn't realize as they marched through Warsaw's streets was that silence didn't mean surrender. Beneath the surface of compliance, something unprecedented was taking shape, not just a resistance movement, but an entire shadow nation. The Polish underground state emerged as a fully functioning parallel government, complete with ministries, courts, schools, and military command structures. Quite remarkable, really, when you think about it. Teachers by day became intelligence officers by night. Factory workers memorized train schedules for sabotage operations. Housewives concealed printing presses in their cellars, churning out newspapers that told the truth the Germans desperately wanted to suppress. It's astonishing how ordinary people took on such extraordinary roles. This wasn't guerrilla warfare as the world understood it. This was nation-building in the darkness, a complete society operating in defiance of the occupation, answering to the legitimate Polish government in exile across the Channel. It's a testament to the indomitable spirit of a nation striving to preserve its identity. The Home Army, or Armia Krajowa, formed the military backbone of this invisible state. It eventually grew to nearly 400,000 sworn members, with millions more in support roles. Quite the formidable force, wouldn't you say? Early operations focused on intelligence gathering and small-scale sabotage. They cut telephone lines, derailed supply trains, and even stole weapons from German depots. It was a daring and dangerous game of cat and mouse. Communication networks spread like underground roots. They used dead drops in hollowed-out trees, messages sewn into coat linings, and couriers who memorized entire reports rather than risk carrying written documents. Such ingenuity was truly remarkable. Young women became the lifeline of this network, moving through German checkpoints with forged papers and information that could mean life or death for thousands. The genius of Poland's resistance lay in its ordinariness. These weren't professional spies or career soldiers. They were mathematicians, seamstresses, priests, and engineers who transformed their everyday skills into weapons of war. Before the invasion, Polish mathematicians had already accomplished what seemed impossible. They'd cracked the German Enigma code, that supposedly unbreakable cipher machine that would determine the fate of nations. When Warsaw fell, they didn't destroy their work or let it vanish into chaos. Instead, they smuggled working Enigma replicas and documentation to British intelligence through channels that wound through Romania and France, a contribution that would save countless Allied lives in the battles to come. Then came Operation Most 3, a mission so audacious it reads like fiction. In 1944, when German V2 rockets began terrorizing London, Polish intelligence learned of a crashed rocket in occupied territory. Home Army units secured the site, disassembled key components under the noses of German search parties, and transported them across hundreds of miles of enemy-controlled territory. Engineers, sketched technical drawings by candlelight in safe houses. Couriers carried pieces hidden in farm carts beneath loads of potatoes. Finally, a British aircraft landed in a moonlit field to collect the intelligence and components that would help the Allies understand and counter Hitler's so-called wonder weapons. The operation required precise coordination, nerves of steel, and the kind of technical expertise you'd expect in a laboratory, not a war zone. The underground press became another battlefield. Secret printing operations produced hundreds of newspapers and bulletins, maintaining Polish identity and morale while countering German propaganda. Forgers crafted documents so convincing that resistance members moved freely through checkpoints, their false papers bearing authentic stamps stolen from German offices. This information war extended to the production of ration cards, travel permits, and identity documents that saved Jewish lives and enabled sabotage operations across the occupied territories. Resistance manifested in acts both grand and intimate. A shopkeeper would shortchange German soldiers, pocketing coins for resistance funds. A railroad worker would accidentally misdirect a supply shipment bound for the Eastern Front. These small defiances accumulated into a constant drain on German resources and morale, death by 1,000 cuts administered by people who would never fire a shot. The occupiers couldn't trust anyone, couldn't know which smile concealed hatred, or, which helpful gesture was surveillance in disguise. The Warsaw Uprising of 1944 represented the resistance's most desperate gamble. For 63 days, Home Army fighters turned Poland's capital into a fortress, engaging German forces in brutal urban combat that honestly reduced city blocks to rubble. Young fighters crafted weapons in basement workshops, manufacturing grenades from plumbing supplies and brewing homemade explosives. Women served as medics crawling through sewers to reach the wounded, performing surgery in cellars while buildings collapsed overhead. Though ultimately crushed by overwhelming German firepower, the uprising tied down forces needed elsewhere and demonstrated that the Polish spirit remained unbroken even after 5 years of brutal occupation. Witold Pilecki's story honestly epitomizes the resistance's audacity. This Home Army officer voluntarily allowed himself to be captured and sent to Auschwitz with one mission: infiltrate the camp, gather intelligence, and organize resistance among the prisoners. For over 2 years, he documented the Holocaust's horrors while building a network of over 1,000 resistance members inside the camp. His reports, smuggled out through resistance channels, provided the Allies with the first comprehensive evidence of the Nazi genocide, though tragically, the world was slow to act on his warnings. The Polish resistance paid an unfathomable price for their defiance. The Germans executed approximately 6 million Polish citizens, including 3 million Jews. Entire villages were razed in reprisal for partisan actions. The Warsaw Uprising alone cost 200,000 civilian lives. Yet, through this darkness, the resistance provided 43% of all intelligence reports from occupied Europe to British agencies, destroyed over 7,000 German trains, eliminated 5,000 military vehicles, and saved tens of thousands of Jewish lives through Zhigota, the only state-organized effort in occupied Europe dedicated to rescuing Jews. Their legacy extends beyond statistics and military achievements. Poland's underground state proved that occupation could never be complete, that the human spirit could create parallel worlds of freedom, even under totalitarian control. Their methods, combining intelligence gathering, sabotage, psychological warfare, and civilian defiance, became templates for resistance movements worldwide. They demonstrated that technology, ingenuity, and courage could multiply the effectiveness of ordinary people facing overwhelming military might. Today, in an era where resilience and adaptability are celebrated values, the Polish resistance reminds us that survival isn't just physical endurance, it's the refusal to surrender identity, values, and hope regardless of circumstances. These teachers, mathematicians and factory workers teach us that ordinary people possess extraordinary capabilities when defending what matters most. If this journey into history's hidden warfare has sparked your curiosity, hit that like button and subscribe to The Lost Tactician. Share this story with anyone who believes in the power of resilience and human ingenuity. Join us next time as we continue exploring where history and endurance intertwine, uncovering the forgotten tactics that shaped our world. Until then, remember, sometimes the greatest battles are fought in silence, and the strongest warriors wear no uniform